Hello and welcome to the Hotel Marketing Show. In this podcast, we're going to talk about all things hotel marketing. We're going to talk about things that are happening in the industry, insights, things that all hotel marketers or anybody that has an interest in hotel marketing wants to know about. My name is Victoria.
And I'm Nadine.
And we're the hosts of the Hotel Marketing Show. To kick off the podcast today, in this episode, we're going to be talking with Dan, founder and director of the Arcade Hotel here in Amsterdam, about the future of guest experience and making your brand memorable.
Awesome. To get things started, first of all, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure. Dan, can you give us a little bit of an introduction to who you are, a little bit of your background, anything the outside world wants to know?
Sure. My name is Dan. I'm originally from Montreal, Canada. I moved to Amsterdam in 2005. I'd been working in the service industry for more than 10 years back home, and my family got into hotels here in Europe, so I decided to give it a chance. I've been living here ever since. We went from around 4 or 5 hotels, eventually down to this one here in Amsterdam, and I was kind of sick of seeing this revolving door of Booking.com guests, so I thought I had to do something. And that's when I came up with the Arcade Hotel. And essentially, it's my childhood hobbies and passions that I'm still into. And I just vomited it all over a hotel. And that's kind of where we are today. And then you guys invited me to talk about it.
Yeah, we need to hear more about that.
Also, another question I have for you. What's one thing that you started in 2021 and want to keep doing in 2022?
This is a tough one. I mean, I started a video game in 2021 that I still haven't finished, so there's that. A few books. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to redo the hotel website.
Nice.
So I started working on that last year, and I have yet to come anywhere close to accomplishing that. And finally, the brand operation guidelines, which is something I've been working on for over a year. And it's still a work in progress. And hopefully this year I'm going to finish it.
Quite a few things you want to continue doing in 2022. We'll keep our fingers crossed that when we come back together in 2023, it's not going to be on your list anymore.
From your mouth to God's ears.
That's awesome. And what's something that you want to see in the hotel industry in 2022?
More unity between hoteliers. Considering what happened over the last few years, OTAs have been taking over like crazy. And I think if we started coming together, discussing more, whether it's opening the books or brainstorming or, but I think we all need to come together and start mobilizing against OTAs. Otherwise, we're going to be spending a lot more money just to keep that direct guest keep coming back. So that's something I'd like to see in 2022.
That's awesome. I think that's a really cool point there. I think that's something that we've kind of seen from a lot of the other guests that we've had on so far, talking about not even just like externally, but even like within the hotel as well, having unity and alignment with everyone. So I think when you have that internal strength, then it's much easier, I guess, to like go out and be stronger as a community as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when speaking to actually pretty much anyone, a lot of times you hear this word community drop. It's coming in so many areas of life, just back and stronger, and I really hope that it's going to keep growing because we really do need in any aspect of life this sense of community to go forward.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
A question that is also on my mind, obviously, and probably also for the listeners out there. So Arcade Hotel has such a memorable branding, tone of voice, everything about you guys is pretty memorable. How did you actually come up with it? I know you mentioned it's everything that is basically from your childhood right there, but can you let us in a little bit more about how did this all come together?
Yeah, I mean, we made it our own. We made it, I mean, it's selfish or a way to say it. I mean, we made it about ourselves. The way we talk is I think, more relatable than having this kind of corporate image that's just, welcome, please, and thank yous versus like, what's up? Get it yourself. Making jokes, being personable. And I think that's what a lot of brands or older brands have missed. So when we started putting this together, it just felt more comfortable and natural to do it this way. So we came up with this. I have a brand manager. His name is Jens. He's German. We call him Z German. And for all the reasons that you would think, I mean, he's concise. He's an academic when it comes to the branding process. And we really took my jumbled up ADHD brain and threw it down on the desk, and he made sense of the puzzle. So with him and a bottle of Jameson, this is kind of how we kind of figured out the direction we wanted to go.
But
I mean,
all the best ideas start.
Yeah, a bottle of Jameson. And, we knew what we wanted to offer and what was going to be in there. So we had to make a brand fit with what we were going to offer. So the video games and the geek culture, everything was there. And, you're not going to talk to some 35, 40-year-old gamer and be like, welcome, sir. You're going to be like, what's up? How was your trip? You be more real. And I think people relate to that much more. And over the last few years, you can see it in different industries, and certain brands are becoming more personable. The way that they're talking. I mean, even some web hosters, when you go to a 404 did not find page, it's like 404, like, we fucked up.
Yeah,
you can't find
the
us.
Personality into those normally like boring moments as well.
And that's what sticks out, I think, in people's minds when you have a personality rather than just an image.
Yeah, totally. For anybody listening that hasn't seen the Arcade Hotel website yet, I'll put a link in the show notes and stuff, because you definitely have to check it out, because I think it is an incredibly strong brand. It's like if you're reading something, you're like, oh yeah, this is for sure the Arcade Hotel brand.
Don't be afraid to swear. I mean, it's just a word, and fuck, shit, cock, balls. I mean,
I'll have fun with that later.
But that's it. But then people remember, and it's simple as adding even a swear word. But I mean, just referring to something like "do not disturb" signs have, come from this old adage of like "do not disturb" or "please clean my room" to "we're doing the propeller," which I don't know if anybody knows that. Or you know what I mean, or a reference to something. But yeah, then it's like we want people to steal our "do not disturb" signs.
Yeah,
because they're funny.
That's awesome.
It's actually true. I know quite some people who in their house have all kind of hotel knickknacks, and I'm always like, God, it's so nice, but I'm always so afraid of stealing things. But some things are just too good to not be taken. And when I say someone, it's not me, but I know I made it sound like that just now. But yeah, it's amazing. I mean, that's what you want to aspire to, right? Because you need to make a lasting impression. Victoria and me had this conversation today on a different topic, but sometimes it's very hard to filter out the noise from the actual content, and having something that stands out where people can still remember that a couple months and years down the line and be back and say like, hey, I went to Amsterdam, and what pops into your mind is the Arcade Hotel, and not like, oh, I went to this really nice hotel, don't remember what the name was, so that's just extremely important. Yeah, it's
an easy way to create loyalty, because you're going to remember this a few years down the line. You're not part of the membership program, or we don't even have one, but it's like, oh yeah, I remember the Arcade Hotel.
So actually a good point there. Do you have a lot of guests that are coming back year on year, month after month?
We don't have a membership program, and Amsterdam being the city that it is, where leisure travel is dominant, it is hard to sometimes find these returning guests. There are a few, and we do have a few of those, and we do have the referrals and everything. We're very close to the ride, the convention center, so during the annual conventions, we will see some of the same guests. But maybe it's because of our proximity, but at the same time, they really enjoy the product.
Just going back to the memorable stuff on the website, I always think about, I think it's on like the room with 2 single beds or something, and it says something about like the Luke and Leia room, something like that. I just like...
Luke and Leia, your brother and sister.
Yeah. I just love that. It's so good.
I mean, we do our best to piss off, for example, some OTAs who shall not be, it's the Voldemort of the OTA world.
Yeah.
So whatever we create or write, room descriptions or room names, we go as far as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Before they're like, no, I'm sorry, you can't put this in. And then we like tone it down one little level. They're like, okay, fine, we'll let this, slide in, and it's...
That's amazing.
But also coming back to what you just said about you didn't say it, but I'm going to say it now.
Sure.
Your target audience. You were just mentioning business travelers. So I'm really intrigued. Who is your target audience? How did you define it?
There was a process from the beginning. We looked at the Netherlands Tourism Board website and all of the documentation that they offer. So they've done, obviously, a lot of research onto who comes to Holland or who comes to Amsterdam, and they've created, I think it was 4 or 5 or 6 profiles of a guest, and it was different ages and for different reasons, and for whether it was there was this leisure guest, but there was 3 different types of leisure, and then there was 2 business type of guests, and they were different, and then there was another like individual one. So we used that. We looked at the statistics of Amsterdam tourism as well. And then finally we used video game statistics. There's actually one of the largest video game statistics companies in the world is based actually in Amsterdam. So we were able to kind of cross-reference the Netherlands Tourism Board, the Amsterdam Tourism Board, and Newzoo, which is the stats company, to kind of see who is coming. And then, what is it, Venn diagram? Venn diagram. And we kind of circled where everything overlapped, and then we kind of understood who was coming and then who we could target. But at the same time, we also had, wishes and desires. Like, I didn't want 20-year-old potheads just coming to play FIFA, and that's all they play. They're not gamers per se. They are. I mean, I'm not going to shit on somebody just because they play one type of game or whatever. But, they come here, they smoke pot, and they just want to play FIFA. And that's not who I want. I wanted kind of, I'm targeting the subculture of this geek and gaming world. So I wanted the early adopters, the 35 to 40-year-olds who started with this at the late 70s, early 80s, like myself. Could be that they have families now, a little bit more disposable income. We were those kids back in the 80s that got wedgies. Like, our underwear were pulled over our head and we were made fun of because we, read Superman and X-Men and played Nintendo. And now these people are actually like tech founders and startup accelerator and VCs and angel. Not just that, but they're also doctors and dentists and whatever. And, it's that clientele that we want. The people that would really enjoy seeing He-Man sitting on Cringer, the original toy, in a pose against Skeletor, fighting each other in a plexiglass box in their room. Or signed copies of X-Men covers from Jack Layton and things like that. So they would appreciate it. So it wasn't hard. It was quite easy using the data that was given to us by the tourism boards, having our own desires of clientele that we wanted, and creating a place that we knew that these people would want to go to. If you want to take the kids on a holiday, you take them to Disney. And if you want to take a holiday and appreciate some nostalgia, you come to us.
Yeah, I think that's so cool because, when you walk into the Arcade Hotel, there is so much stuff that, I'm not the target audience, but I can imagine that for these people that are, your target guests, that must be like walking into, I don't know, a toy shop or like walking back into your childhood or something like that.
Like a time capsule, you walk in and you...
we're not a hotel, a home away from home. I mean, that old cliche. But we want to be like that best friend's house who had every toy.
Yeah.
And that wasn't my house. No. It was Justin Aronoff's house. And we used to sit in his basement, and every console that came out, he had it. And every toy that came out, he had it. And every Nerf gun, he had it. Everything at his house. So Justin, if you're listening, which I don't think you will be.
We'll send it to him.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Justin, if you're out there.
But that's it. I mean, when I think of the arcade, I think of Justin's house. And it's just, and that's what I want to offer to our guests. I mean, it's the idea that you were a gamer and you're no longer a gamer, but I think if you're not going to go out and buy a Nintendo now just to have a little nostalgia at home, and you can come to a place, you don't need to rent it, everything's set up for you, and it's nice and easy to do. And I mean, the idea that we don't want people to sit in our hotel rooms 24 hours a day. This was never the intention. The intention was essentially, and the stats to back it up, is that 90% plus of all hotel guests will turn on the TV at least once. Mm-hmm. And it's usually at the end of the day between the hours of 5 and 9 p.m. or something. So this was for them to kind of have that 1 hour, 2 hours at the end of the day before dinner, relaxing. And you don't have to bring anything with you, and everything's in the room, and you can try that old Nintendo or the old Sega.
That's actually really interesting, because I think another question we wanted to ask you today is, how does your brand translate into guest experience? And I think that that's actually a great lead into what you were just saying, to say, okay, this is also the guest experience, and this is how you want your guests to feel when they are at your property, and not in the traditional sense, a home away from home, but like you said, walking into your best friend's house. Something that really does interest me as well is, how do you make sure that your brand identity is always coherent through all the different channels that you have? You did mention at the beginning, it's just because that's the way you guys just talk. But how do you make sure that it's all coherent at the end of the day?
I mean, it can be hard and it can be easy. And, I was lucky that I started with Z German, Jens, who was able to, from the beginning, pick my brain. We were able to create a brand identity, which I think is the most important thing. And once you have a brand identity, it's kind of trickled down from there. The core values, what you need to be saying, or how you need to be saying things, or how you need to be presenting things. And then it gets easier from there. So, pre-corona, We had a community manager, a brand manager, a website administrator, a social media, it was an event coordinator, and we had all these jobs. But since Corona, obviously, we had to scale back. We had to run lean. And the German had created the brand identity, from the beginning, from what we wanted. And our 3 core values are like quirky, playful, and social. And you can see that across everything that we do. And it's like, we can't just write welcome to the hotel. Or we can't just say welcome to the hotel. It'll be like, we just have to wing it and do something fun and funny and quirky and playful and social. So when he created this document explaining why we're quirky, why we're playful, why we're social, every time we work with a new partner, Hotel Champ or we can hand over this document. And that makes it easier.
Yeah.
And it'll give examples of our social media. It'll give you links to our website, specific content. And whoever this new person is will need to make sense of that. And, you have to, as the owner or as the founder or as the director, however you want to call it, you have to have your finger on the pulse. Otherwise, it's going to run rampant. But now we have a smaller team. I'm doing a lot more. I have help, but we're a much smaller team, so that makes it easier. But if you're talking about global brands who are all over the place, they'll do the same thing. They'll have a brand identity manual. They'll have their color codes and their fonts. That's one part of it. Then how do you speak? You need to really understand the brand or the identity of the brand.
Yeah, I was just about to say before when you were talking about fonts, I was just also about to say it's just like way more than it was before, right? Before it was like, oh, let's have this font, these 3 types of font, and these 3 colors, and then that's fine, and the rest is just kind of there.
Wing it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's so important because I think if you look at any website or any hotel, you can clearly see if something is aligned or if you're just like, they're all over the place because do the packages actually make sense for the type of property they are? Do they even resonate with the person who's trying to book? So much can go wrong, but on the other hand, so much can go right as well.
Let me reverse the question to you guys, working with me for I don't know how many years already. What do you think about how easy it is to understand our brand and then represent it in the tools that you got most of the time you guys are creating for us?
Yeah,
I know it's not just text. There's images and GIFs.
Images. Yeah, exactly. I think it's one of those things where it's like if you have enough guidelines, you almost have more freedom. So you're like, if you know, okay, I can go crazy within this space, then I feel like it's a lot easier to actually be able to like express the brand in the right way, but also knowing that you're like, oh yeah, I'm actually on track. And I think, well, just personally, I think the Arcade Hotel brand is one of the easiest brands that I think I've worked on before because it is, not only is it unique, but it is so strong that if you're doing something that is on brand, like okay, yeah, this GIF that we've created it's exactly what suits everything else that's happening on the website. Whereas like some other times when maybe a brand is a little bit more generic, it's harder to find stuff that actually is what they're looking for. You don't exactly know, like, are they going to love this or hate this?
Yeah, because it can go either way, It can be like, oh, they're going to find it hilarious, or they're just going to look and you'll be like, what is this? Do you get a lot of feedback from guests or even just website visitors, either positive or negative? Do people sometimes feel offended, or do they come up to you and say like, hey...
Polarizing brand.
The people who are offended? Fuck you! Is that offensive enough?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. What about for the people who love it? Do you get a lot of like traction on saying, wow, we really love what you're doing?
I mean, I never go to a hotel or even to a store and be like, I love your website. Like nobody really ever brings that up.
Well, we should. No?
We should.
Nadine's like, oh, it's just me then?
Yeah.
Love what you've done with your websites. Let me get our marketing director. Nobody really says anything. However, when I meet with Hotel Champ or some of our other partners or suppliers, they're very energetic about it. They really like it, so it's nice to hear. Guests, less and less. Nobody's really been offended. You want to get a rise out of somebody because it's another memorable experience. I'm not intentionally trying to piss people off. I'm not trying to offend people.
Yeah, but I also think that's one of the things, one ingredient potentially to go viral about certain things, right? Because it's usually the things that fall out of line, which all of a sudden you see all over the place. You're never going to see anything viral that is just normal.
Yeah, agreed. And our website in general, like, we didn't take any templates. We looked at other websites that, of hotels that we really liked. Mm-hmm. Michelle Berger Hotel in Berlin, Volks Hotel here in Amsterdam, City Hub even. I mean, we've taken elements of other things. What we found worked best, and we had a UX designer who helped us, and that really helped us, having somebody who really understands the user experience. So that's where it fit in. And, we've been to webinars and seminars, and people will bring up the Arcade Hotel website, and it was like, what? Us? Little old me? And, it's in the back of my head, I'm giving myself a little pat, but we as a team made it, but we're really happy about it. But no, nobody really comes up to us and it's like, oh yeah, hey.
Well, next time I'll pop by, I'll tell you how much I love your website.
Yeah, exactly.
So the next time you get interviewed on a podcast, you can be like, actually, yes.
Yeah, there was this one strange woman that came in.
This one
German lady.
She came in and just complimented our website and
Did
left.
Jens call you before and tell you to talk this
How
up?
much is he paying you?
Enough for me to come to visit your hotel
Exactly.
and pay you a compliment.
Exactly. Just show up and be like, Dan, love the website, and just leave.
Exactly.
That's it.
That is it. Yeah, no, we got the chance to go to your hotel a couple of months back. I keep saying a couple of months back, but ever since the pandemic, I lost complete track of time. So it could have been I think it's 2022.
Took you a second. Took you a second.
Yeah, it does. If I think about... Yeah, it just, everything blurs into one. But anyways, last year we came to your hotel and it was also like, wow, there's a lot.
Yeah.
So,
we played in the arcade for a few hours.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glad you enjoyed it.
Awesome. It was really cool. Speaking of the pandemic, how do you think...
What's that?
Obviously, we know for a number of different things that people's approach to, I guess, a lot of things like work-life balance, what their expectations are about, I think, a lot of different aspects of their life. As people start going traveling again and getting out there, booking holidays, how do you think that guest expectations will have changed?
There's always cause and effect, action, reaction, and the pandemic there is obviously going to be a change in guest sentiments and guest desires and what they're expecting. I mean, obviously, contactless is a big thing. Seamless, touchless check-ins are a thing. So, self-check-ins, QR, RFID on your phone to open your door, things like that. I mean, people will expect that. Others who maybe are, let's say, on the 5-star plus scale are still going to want the human interaction. So there's no, I think, changes there on the high-end scale. We're going to see a lot more, obviously, working remote. I think there's, people are going to stay in their rooms a bit more. Yes, you're going to a city, but I think you're also more comfortable, especially with what happened in the last 2 years. So maybe there's more amenities that come in the room, or guests will expect more amenities.
That's really interesting, actually, that you're talking about amenities, because I felt like everyone obviously had to dial down on amenities. So it's actually a quite interesting twist, because I think you're right. I think people will expect more. But currently, it's less than pre-pandemic, because all of a sudden there's nothing more in the minibar because you're afraid that other people touching.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do you think that will shift again?
I mean, it depends on the product. There's this woman from Israel I know who created this product, and I think it did really well in Kempinski hotels. It was a little bit of a sex toy box, and I think now more than ever that they're going to be selling through the roof.
You don't want other people touching that.
Well, the thing is, it's locked. It's, you can tell there's a seal on it. It's like, but things like, people have to be more original is what I mean. It's yes, you remove the minibar, or rather you don't remove the minibar, but you have guests choose their menu before they even arrive. So it's like the decrease in amenities, maybe more individual soaps and shampoos versus more eco-friendly, bigger tubes with...
That would also make the thieves happy again.
My
friend.
Your friend, right. Friend of a friend.
My friend is waiting for the day that the little amenities come back. Little shampoo and conditioners.
They haven't showered since.
No, but I think this is a really, really good point. This whole aspect of just creativity, I think there's so much room upwards there to be... just creative about what can I offer that maybe goes above and beyond, here's your water bottle, Coca-Cola, Fanta, and some nuts. Yeah. So to really think outside of the box.
And it's, the longer the guest stays in the hotel or in the room, the better chance we have for upsell. The spend per guest should increase if you have guests who are in the room most of the time. So it's a matter of what you can offer them, what amenities you can offer them. You know, Oki is a great tool for this specifically. You want the individualized cosmetic set, or you want the sex toy, or you want this specific video game in your room already. I think guests will expect more of the selection. Airlines have done this already for years where, you know, they've taken out food and drink and everything is an extra and you want extra luggage, or you want to choose your seats, and compartmentalizing each and every aspect of the journey. And we now as hoteliers maybe have to look at it. And some of the statistics I'm reading that the trends are moving towards that. If you look at EasyJet Hotel or Easy Hotel, you can pay extra for towel, or you can bring your own towel. You can pay extra for TV, or you can bring your device.
I think that's really interesting as well, because we talk a lot about personalization from an online experience point of view, but I think that there is an expectation of having stuff that is personalized and customized when you're on a website, like it's actually relevant for you. But I think that taking that into the actual like real life experience as well, being able to actually customize your experience and have your stay be the way that you want it to be, I think is really interesting.
And I think any hotel, regardless of your brand or a flag, I mean, it's doable on every level, in every star classification, everywhere in the world. You just have to be creative about it. You just have to see what's missing and
what works for your brand or your hotel.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
I can't wait now actually to see the future of guest amenities.
What do you have in mind? What are some of your creative ideas that I can steal right now?
Now you're putting me on the spot. You didn't send me that question. No, I think just entirely like you said before, just personalizing, not online but offline. I know that also Fleming's hotels for a while, they had that concept with the little rubber ducks on the room, which were like always dependent on like seasonality, or just being able to walk into a room and say like, hey, these are my favorite drinks, for example, and I'll find them in the minibar, versus I have maybe 20 different options, of which I anyways only like 2. So using your space a little bit more efficiently. And also I think during the pandemic, everyone kind of changed a little bit in what they're doing, what kind of new regimen they have in their routine and all of this, and understanding how can I incorporate that into a stay, which before it was just a stay off the shelf, if we want to put it that way.
Yeah, we as hoteliers were dictating what happens in the room.
Yeah.
Versus now guests, and, you know, back to guest expectations. What do they want?
Yeah.
And this is where you can really customize the guest experience and increase your revenue per guest, and, you know.
And I mean, Oki actually, because you were talking about Oki before, also did an amazing job with that, because if I think about Oki, I think about the goldfish, which they really like pushed about for business travelers, for like, you don't want to be alone, here's a goldfish. It just sticks in your mind, right?
For sure. That was like their first, I think, success, you know, like rent a pet. And it was like, which hotel in the world can you rent a pet? You know, like, give me a hotel where you can rent a dog. I mean, I'll be there.
Yeah, I'll
live
there
there
now.
I'll live there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was a great idea. And even through Oki, we heard about having housekeeping stuff for the day in exchange for something at the bar or something else. And, you know, you have to look at those because, you know, guests may know what they want, but we have more ideas than them. So we should tell them what they want, in a way.
I would definitely get a goldfish if I was traveling somewhere.
Definitely get a dog.
Yeah, but
Fuck the fish.
But a dog is also, like, I'm actually with you, but it can also, like, you'd want to know what kind of dog. You know,
Yeah,
I wouldn't be
of
so
course.
peculiar about, like, a goldfish.
Yeah.
You know, like, its history and all of this.
But like, how responsible would you be for the dog? Like, do you have full responsibility? Because like,
I would give up my children for the dog.
You could.
If I just have like the pets and like the cuddles, then I'm all for the dog.
Then again, you can upsell on, we'll go for a walk with the dog.
I paid $2 for that. I paid $20 for that. My God, walking around Rome with this like gorgeous lab, sure, fine.
Yeah,
Please.
so it's basically just a wheel.
Yeah. What was it? What's the hotel in Guzenfeld that they just opened? The really cool one with the cottages. Unbound.
Unbound. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbound.
They have a reception dog,
Oh yeah.
and it's like first of all it's 2 years old, and it looks 8. But not because it's just fat and slow and lazy. And I asked the woman, I was like, "How old's your dog?" She's like 2. I was like, I couldn't believe it.
What have you
done? But you know,
What?
checking in there and playing with the dog for 10 minutes was
Yeah.
you know the best start of my
Amazing.
holiday.
It's actually so funny how these little things just make such an impact. I mean, it wasn't for me with the hotel stay, but I actually just went for a walk the other day during lunch and picked up a coffee on the way. And there was this little puppy, this little Australian Shepherd puppy. I think I said that, but I wasn't sure. But it was just the highlight of my day that I was like, I'm gonna come back just for the dog. The coffee wasn't even that great, but I'll be back.
Any hoteliers listening, I mean, it's dogs, dogs, dogs.
Yeah.
That's the takeaway.
Yeah, exactly. What does your brand need in 2022? A dog.
Dogs.
So for the next episode, if we ask the question, what do you want to see more of in 2022? If the answer is not dogs,
we're not going to publish the podcast.
Oh, awesome. Well, actually, we kind of went into this question a little bit because I wanted to say, how do you think that hotels can make more of a memorable experience for their guests? I mean, we've brainstormed some ideas together right now, but what do you think are some important kind of things to consider?
All it takes is one good memory, one memorable moment, and then that's all you need. Like, really, it just comes down to that. And it's nothing, you can't say anything in general. I mean, like, it has to just be, you know, a little bit in your DNA to offer this memorable experience. But you can't say, okay, you know, putting a video game in the room and people are going to like, wow, that's amazing. Because your hotels have been putting video games in the hotels for years. Mm-hmm. My dad moved to Istanbul when I was very young, and I would go visit in the summer, and I would stay, you know, he'd kind of leave me at the hotel down the street. And it was a big 5-star hotel, but there was a pool and everything, and there was an arcade hall inside. And you had put in coins, and there was a pool table and things like that. So, like, hotels have been doing it for years. But hotels haven't been combining it with geek culture and, you know, the decor and the style that we have or the tone of voice or whatever. And that's, for us, what created kind of more of a memorable experience. But what can hotels do? I mean, it's just, you have to find it. It's the guest that's going to let you know where that memorable experience is going to come. And I'll remember, you know, going to Prague and staying at the Emblem Hotel and asking, you know, the receptionist, where am I going tonight? You know, we're not going to a restaurant that I found on TripAdvisor. Where am I going for drinks tonight? I don't want any of that. And she's like, okay, this street, this street, this street, this street. Next thing you know, we're walking into the basement of this building, and it was like a hidden jazz club.
That's
and I was like,
amazing.
that's what I remember about that whole trip. I don't remember nothing else about that whole trip.
No, but that's what you want though, right? Like, you want that moment of like knowing that the hotel, or like when you're asking for like a recommendation, that it is actually going to be something that's like a hidden gem, or, you know, it is going to be like an amazing experience. And I love the idea that like your memorable experience is not just like the hotel made the experience of the city memorable as well, not just the hotel. I think that's awesome.
And I know that I'm going to go back to the Emblem, you know, not just because of Richard, but I'm going to go back to the Emblem, you know, because I know that I can go there and get the recommendations from, now I forgot her name, but I had it before. But she's going to tell me this is where you have to go next time. And it's, you know, that's the memorable experience. And it can happen in the hotel, it can happen in the city, as long as there's something related to the hotel or coming from the hotel. And I mean, yeah, I brought up this idea of the Emblem, but it's the local travel. Like, people want to be locals now when they travel. And I think that's what makes the memorable experience. And if your hotel can tell you those things and direct you in that way, then I think you'll be like, yeah, I'm going to go back because we speak the same language.
Yeah.
They understand me, and that's your memorable experience.
Yeah. They know what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's sometimes these little things that are actually that have such a huge impact. I remember when I was younger, this was really small actually, we went always to the south of Germany for vacation, and there was this one restaurant where we went one night, and with the bill, they had like the Überraschungsei, like the little chocolate egg with a surprise inside, and they gave it with a bill. I was so stoked about this little thing that every time we went back, and my parents were like,
we're going to that restaurant!
I made such a fuss. I'm like, we're going there. They're the only one with a chocolate egg. And then we went back and back and back. And one day they didn't have it anymore, and I was like over it. I was like, we're never going back here.
Burn it to the ground!
You did to me.
Hans, get the Flammenwerfer!
Yeah, no, almost. But this is, sometimes it's like the little things you think that maybe don't even have such a huge impact, which, I mean, okay, maybe not take it from 6-year-old me, but from anyone who's traveling now, if you see something where you're like, hey, this was small, but so like flip the switch.
But okay, so I don't know if you have kids, but if you have kids or eventually you're going to have kids and they still give the Kinder Egg, you're going to take your kids there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the experience, and that creates the loyalty. Like 30 years later, you're going back, or 20 years later, you're going back with your kids just because of the Kinder Egg. You know, it's...
Yeah, and that's crazy, huh? One chocolate egg.
That's all it takes. One head of a puppy's head. That's all it takes.
Exactly.
One joke, do not disturb sign. That's all it takes. You know, it's...
Come back for more things to steal.
Yeah. For a friend.
For a friend. Let's see what they have now.
Awesome. I think we've covered a lot of amazing topics today, but just to wrap up, Dan, do you have 3 key takeaways for other hoteliers today?
I came up with 6 instead of 3, but kind of 3, the first 3 and then the second 3. I mean, I'll start with the second 3 just because it's easy, and it's create, create, create. This leads to the whole experience. This leads to loyalty and everything else. It's create, create, create. Take your canvas and just keep painting. Paint over it and paint over it and paint over it. So create, 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 create. And then the other one is know your guest. Be good at what you decide to do. And think what's missing and fill the gap.
That's amazing. That's so good.
Yeah, I love those. Yep. Your 6 are approved. We don't have to edit out 3 of them.
They all get to stay. That was amazing. But thank you so much for joining us today, Dan. We really appreciate you sharing all of your amazing knowledge with us. I think, like I said, the Arcade Hotel is such a memorable and a unique brand.
Thanks for having me, and I really enjoyed this. And if ever you want me back, I'm more than happy to.
Well, latest in 2023.
A third co-host.
No, latest we'll see you in 2023 to see if you got all your to-dos done for 2022.
No, of course, you can come back anytime.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
But for those of you listening at home, please share your thoughts with us. If you think there's anything else that we've missed, or if you have any questions about any of the topics that we covered today, please get in touch with us at welcome@hotelchamp.com, and make sure to follow Hotel Champ on all of your favorite social media channels. Stay tuned for more episodes in the future. Take care of yourself. Have a great day, and bye-bye.